Noorsign Books presents Ramadan Miracles, Stories of Faith Found in the Ordinary. Scaffolding of Mercy, Part 2, The Meeting of Stones. Sarajevo, Ramadan. A mason who buried his grief in mortar for 7 years must decide if the wall he built is a shelter or a tomb. But when a secret from Srebrenica finally breaks through, Dražen Kovačević discovers that the hardest stone to move is the one around a father's heart. For 2 days he tried to bury the letter under mortar. The folded paper in his pocket softened with sweat, the crease lines darkening like old scars. He woke before Fajr, throat dry, the verse from that first morning echoing again. The patient will be given their reward without account. He had never asked for reward, only for numbness. Tok, tok, tok. Every time his hand slid into his jacket for the notebook, it brushed the letter. He did not unfold it. At noon, the trowel slipped and nicked his thumb. Red beaded bright against lime-burned skin. He sucked it, tasting iron and dust. Children's voices bounced down the alley. A ball rolled into the lot. A boy chased it, froze when he saw him. Sorry, Amija. The boy shifted, then blurted, "My father says the city is coming for the stones. Is it true?" "The city has been coming for 500 years, Dražen muttered. "Tell your father to mind his own tea." When the boys ran off, he heard their chatter drift back. "They'll make a park with red roses like up on the hill. Sarajevo roses. It'll be nice. Uncle Stone will be angry. He's always angry. He was born angry." He set the next stone harder than necessary. The wall took the blow without answer. At Maghreb, Dragan arrived with beans and bread. "You're tired," he said. "I worked." "You always work." "Then why say it?" "Because today you look like the wall fell on you." They ate. After a while, Dragan said, "You got a letter." "Everyone talks too much," Dražen said. "And there's a meeting." "There is." "Are you going?" "No." "If you don't go," Dragan said, "they'll decide without you." "They'll decide against me, whether I go or not." "Probably," Dragan's mouth twisted. "But it's one thing to be overruled while you are there, another to be erased while you pretend you had no choice. The wall doesn't pretend anything. It just is." "You sound like your son," Dragan murmured. The fork stilled in Dražen's hand. "Aliyah," he said before he could stop it. "Yes." Dragan rinsed his plate. "He used to shrug like that. They'll do what they want anyway." He said it with the same stubborn face. The word face lodged like grit. That night, the 20th, he dreamed of nothing and woke exhausted. On the 23rd morning, Sonata came. "Assalamu alaikum, Amija." Her greeting was a statement, not a question. Peace is on you, whether you want it or not. "Wa alaikumus salam," he answered, more easily for her than most. She stepped into the shell of the mosque, eyes scanning the walls, the buckets, the half-finished mihrab. She sat on an overturned bucket as if on a throne. "You've raised it high," she said. "It had to be high. New roof is heavier." "And the sound," she added, "so the Al-Qur'an can bounce more." He snorted. "You heard there is a meeting?" she asked. "I heard." "You're going?" "No." "Why not?" "What will talking change? They have money, plans, architects. I have stones." "Those hands built more than walls," she said softly. They wiped noses, braided hair, poured coffee for a woman who never sat. He turned away, stone in hand, pretending to check a seam. They want a park, he grunted, with roses. Roses of Sarajevo. Her mouth twisted. They will fill shell holes with red paint, as if we don't see them already. They'll put a plaque, he said. It will say, for the victims. Not my name, not my boys' names. Just victims, like a traffic accident. She inhaled sharply. Victims, as if they just fell. The stone in his hand grew heavier. Dražo, she said, using the old diminutive. Only she and Dragan still dared. How long have you been building this wall? You know. Tell me. 7 years. And in 7 years, have you prayed in it, even once? He opened his mouth to lie, then stopped. He remembered once, forehead on bare concrete, when his back seized. Not sujud, just pain. That wasn't prayer, he muttered. She nodded, as if he'd confirmed something. A house of Allah with no prayer in it, she said. That's not a mosque, Amija. That's just a room. Prayer, he started, then trailed off. How could he explain that his tasbih was counting courses, his sujud pressing stones into mortar? She stood. The Prophet, peace be upon him, said, whoever builds a mosque for Allah, Allah builds for him a house in the Jannah. Her voice softened. But I always thought it must be and praise in it. Otherwise, he is only building a roof. At the doorway, she looked back. If you cannot speak for the mosque, she said quietly, maybe you were never really building one. The words dropped like a stone down a well. She left him standing in his silent shell. That night, Dragan brought sarma again. There is a meeting, he said. There is. You're going? No. I'm not a stakeholder, just a man with a hammer. Without your hammer, there is nothing to hold, Dragan said. Kemal remembers the water lines, the waiting, his brother. He hides it in papers. You hide it in stone. Same pain. I don't care about his ache. Then care about yours. Dragan's eyes flashed. If you stay home, don't pretend you were silenced. Silence is also a choice. He went to the meeting in the end, because when he imagined staying away, he saw a room full of people talking about his sons without knowing they were doing it. The cultural center smelled of cheap coffee and dust. Rows of gray plastic chairs faced a projection screen. On the wall, a crooked banner, "We build together." At the front table sat Kemal Duraković, suit crisp, a young woman with a laptop, and Amira with her rolled plans. Dražen slipped in at the back, preferring to stand. Kemal opened with codes and references. Unauthorized construction, he said, eyes flicking toward the rear, has raised safety and heritage concerns. Well-intentioned, he called it. That meant illegal, but we feel bad. Then Amira stood. Assalamu alaikum. Good evening, she began. Her Bosnian flowed smoother now. We propose a community center that honors the past and serves the present. A shared musalla, a kitchen, classrooms, a roof garden for elders and children. Slides clicked past. Photos of the ruin, renderings of glass and light and smiling people. Someone asked about toilets, someone else about language classes. An old man asked, voice shaking, "Will there be real prayer?" "Yes," she said quickly. "Musalla, carpet, wudu, tarawih and Eid." Kemal scanned the room. "We also have here Mr. Dražen Kovačević," he said, "who has been active at the site." A ripple of subdued amusement. "Would you like to speak, Gospodine Kovačeviću?" Dozens of heads turned. His mouth was dry, but not moving would be worse. He walked down the aisle, the projector's light washing over his rough clothes as he passed. At the front, he turned to face them. "I have been laying stones on that site for 7 years," he said. His voice sounded too loud, then too small. I am a construction worker. I don't know about stakeholder engagement. A low chuckle warmed the air. I know stones, mortar, what a wall can hold before it falls. He held up his hands. Each stone weighs 4 to 7 kilos. In winter, they feel heavier. Mortar needs 3 days to set. If you rush, the wall cracks. He swallowed. I know the mihrab wall must face 131 degrees to Mecca, not 130, not 132. I know because my son knew. He was an engineer. He was 22. The number sat in the air. He drew the first lines. I followed. There was a small collective intake of breath. I did not build for the municipality, he said, not for donors. I told myself I built for Allah, but I don't know if he is listening. I don't know if he cares about one small masjid among all the broken things. His throat tightened. He forced the next words out. I build because when I don't, my hands shake. He held them out. The faint tremor was visible even from the second row. When I am stacking stone, they are steady. That is all. He drew breath. I had 2 sons, he said. Aliyah, Emir. They went in the column from Srebrenica. He didn't say, and they never came back. He didn't need to. For 25 years, my hands have shaken, he whispered. I built this wall so they would have something to do. Silence wrapped the room. I don't know what you should build there, he finished. A park, a center, tear my wall down, plant roses. He shrugged, suddenly small. I just wanted you to know why the wall is there. So if you tear it down, you know what you are tearing. He stepped back. Thank you, Kemal said quietly. People shifted, wiping eyes, clearing throats. Someone whispered, Ya Allah. When the time came to vote, Kemal raised his hand for the proposal. Hands went up with his. For toilets, for glass, for programs. A few opposed, he asked. Only a scattering. The proposal is adopted as recommendation, he said. Existing structures will be evaluated for possible incorporation. Incorporation, like swallowing. Dražen didn't raise his hand at all. The decision had been made long before this room. He walked out before the closing comments began. On the stairs, footsteps hurried after him. Mr. Kovačević, Amira called. Please. He stopped. I'm so... she began. Don't say you're sorry, he cut in. You weren't there. She flushed. No, but your wall. We don't have to demolish it. We can integrate it. The design can change. Donors like stories as much as glass. A quick, honest smile. Let me come tomorrow. We'll look at options. He thought of his notebook, of his son's numbers. Tomorrow, he echoed. We'll see if there is a wall. He stepped out into the cold. That night, he sat in the dark shell, back against the Qibla wall, staring up at the slice of starless sky. He expected anger. Instead, there was just wait. After a long time, footsteps came. Familiar. You are sitting in the dark, Dragan said from the doorway. You have eyes, Dražen answered. I brought sarma, again. Cabbage is good for grief. They sat side by side on the cold concrete, pot between them, saying nothing. They chose the plan, Dražen said eventually. The park, the glass, the toilets. You spoke, I spoke. And? They cried, he said, a bitter laugh scraping out. Then they raised their hands. They sat a while longer. Then, Dragan said, in a voice that sounded like something old cracking, I have wanted to tell you something for 25 years. Then why didn't you? Because I am a fool, and because your son asked me to. The night before they left, Dragan said. His words rolled out slow, like a story practiced many times in silence. In Srebrenica, no light, no electricity, people moving like shadows, the UN trucks gone, some choosing the compound, some choosing the forest. The shell around them shrank, the past pushed in. There was a knock on my door, Dragan went on, not soldiers pounding, softer. I opened it a little. He exhaled, a shaky sound. Your boy stood there, he said, Aliyah, wearing your brown coat, too big on him. He looked like you did when you came back from the army, too thin, eyes too old. The image hit like a fist to the chest. He said, Babo, Dragan. Dragan's voice thinned, mimicking the younger tone. My father is going to try to come with us. Don't let him. Keep him here. Keep him alive. Alive. I told him, I'm not your Babo. He said, tonight you are. Silence pressed. I said, if he wants to go, I can't stop him. Dragan's hands twisted in his lap. He will listen to you more than to me, your son said. He was 22 and already knew how stubborn his father was. What did you say? Dražan's voice was a rasp. I promised, Dragan whispered. I said, I will keep your father alive. He let the words sit. I hid you in my basement when they came, Dragan continued. I lied to men with guns. After the war, when you tried not to eat, I brought food. When you wouldn't talk, I sat. When you tried the rope, his voice cracked. I cut it down. Every time you tried to die, I remembered that boy's face, and I said, no. I thought, he said, if you believed your survival was accident, you would not blame anyone. If you knew it was your son's choice, you would have to carry that too. So I kept quiet. Maybe I just built you a different wall. The word wall split something inside. I should have gone with them, Dražen choked. I should have been there. And then, who would have kept his promise? Dragan asked. He didn't ask you, Dražo. He asked me. He knew you. He knew you would choose to die with them. So he took that choice away. The idea hit harder than any shell. His survival had not been his cowardice. It had been their sacrifice. A sound tore out of him then, low, raw, animal. He doubled over, hands clamping over his face, fingers digging as if to hold his skull together. 25 years of contained grief found a crack. He did not wail. His grief had been trained into silence too long. It came in shaking shoulders, in breaths that couldn't quite find their way out, in hot tears forced through clenched fingers. Beside him, Dragan's hand landed on his shoulder, light but anchoring. I'm sorry, Dragan whispered. I should have told you sooner. It was not your fault. It was not. The words struck, over and over, like gentle hammers on old stone. He saw Aliyah again, on his shoulders, 5 years old, yelling, Babo, I'm so high. At 12 with geometry homework. At 19 tugging his arm. We have to go, they're taking the men. At 22 in Dragan's doorway, wearing a too big brown coat, asking someone else to save his father. He had carried one story for 25 years. I abandoned them. Tonight, another story forced its way in. They chose to save me. He wept until the call for Witter washed over the city. When his hands finally fell from his face, his chest felt scraped raw, and a tiny bit lighter, as if a single stone in the wall around his heart had finally moved. A crack had opened. He did not yet know what would grow there, but the next night was the 27th of Ramadan, and he would not spend it pretending he had no business with Allah. You've been listening to Ramadan Miracles, a Noorsign Books original. Dražen Kovačević built a wall for 7 years, thinking it was grief. But tonight, he learned it was love. Love that refused to let him die. Love that chose him even when he couldn't choose himself. Sometimes the mercy we seek isn't in the prayer we make, but in the prayer someone else made for us. If you enjoyed this, please subscribe and hit the bell so you don't miss the next miracle. Visit Noorsignbooks.com to join our community and get the full collection. Jazakumullah khairan.